The moment I saw my bank balance drop by $42,500, my heart stopped. I kept refreshing, again and again, like the app was glitching. But it wasn't a glitch, it was real. My entire life savings. Gone in one night, completely empty. And the worst part, I already knew exactly who did it. My own family. I was standing in my tiny apartment, just got home from work. Still in my uniform. The smell of burnt coffee still clinging to me. Then my phone buzzed. A message. From Mom. "Don't panic, sweetheart. We needed the money. Needed. Like my savings was some communal emergency fund. Like my future was negotiable. I called immediately. She answered on the first ring. Her voice was eerily calm. Normal. Like nothing had happened. "Sweetheart, it was for the family. You'll understand someday." Understand what? That the people who raised me thought my work meant nothing, that my independence was disrespect. But what they didn't know, what they could never predict, was that I wasn't the same quiet kid they could push around anymore. And what I did next saved every single dollar they tried to take. I didn't sleep that night. I'm edged. Not because of the money, but because I realized my own blood had studied me like prey. Every smile they'd given me suddenly felt rehearsed. "Every "We're so proud of you," echoed like a baited trap. So before the sun even rose, I made my first move. I grabbed my laptop, logged into every account, and transferred every single dollar into a brand new, single, signature security, locked savings vault that nobody, not even a bank manager, could touch without me present. Not my parents, not my siblings, not my well-meaning relatives, no one. Then I went one step further. I froze all outward transactions, meaning if anyone somehow got access, they still couldn't pull a single cent out. And that's when things got interesting, because later that day, like clockwork, my mother texted me, "Honey, bring your bank card when you come." Text in. "Dad needs it for something urgent." Urgent, right? I replied with the calmest lie I've ever typed. "Sure, I'll bring it." But inside, I was done playing defense. I was about to watch their entire scheme collapse in real time. When I got home, the whole family was sitting together. Same fake, warm energy, same practiced smiles, like they thought they were minutes away from hitting a jackpot. Dad gestured to the chair. Mom put on her soft voice. My sister was already recording on her phone, pretending to text. They were ready, but so was I. My dad cleared his throat, the way he always did when he wanted something from me. "Son, we've talked and we think it's better if you let us manage your savings. You're young. These things are complicated. Just give us your card and PIN. We'll handle everything." My mom chimed in, "Parents never misuse their children's money. You know we want what's best for you." I almost laughed. Almost. Instead, I said the line that shattered the entire room. I already moved the money. Silence, like vacuum silence. My mother blinked. My father sat up straight. My sister's phone lowered an inch. I kept going. Not only moved it, but locked it permanently. Nobody can access it but me. Not today. Not ever. My dad's face shifted, from confusion to frustration to the anger he used when control slipped from his hands. "Why would you do that?" he snapped. "We are your parents." "Exactly, parents, not owners." I leaned back and dropped the truth they never expected. "Because you were trying to take what I earned, and I love myself too much to let anyone, family or not, drain me dry." My mom stood up, voice trembling between guilt, anger, and shock. "How can you accuse us like this?" I pulled my phone from my pocket and opened a folder titled Receipts. Every suspicious conversation, every voice note, every text where they slipped up. Screenshots, audio clips, bank attempt notifications. I placed it on the table like evidence in a courtroom. The moment denial died, the truth sat in the room like a heavy weight. I didn't need to yell. I didn't need to insult. I didn't need to prove anything more. I just stood up, picked up my keys, and said, "You didn't lose my money. You lost access to me." And I walked out. I could hear my sister whisper, "He actually outplayed us." Yes, I did. and I'd do it again. The first thing I noticed after walking out that door was the weight leaving my shoulders. Not slowly, instantly, like someone had unhooked a bag and realizing you've been fighting for a family that wasn't fighting for you. That night I made a quiet promise. I will never apologize for protecting what's mine. Because the truth is, the moment people see you building something for yourself, they start calculating ways to claim it, blood or not. The next morning, my phone exploded with messages, missed calls, voice notes, paragraphs that started with "please listen" and slowly dissolved into "you've become ungrateful. Then you embarrassed us. And finally, if you want to come back into this family, you know what you need to do." Translation: give them access to the money. I didn't reply. Not to a single one. Because silence is powerful. It forces people to face themselves. By day 4, the tone changed again. This time, guilt, manipulation, the classics. My mother sent a voice note, her tone soft and dramatic. You misunderstood everything. You hurt us deeply. Families share everything, including money. I listened once, deleted it, moved on. Because here's the reality, Taby. People who want control don't apologize. They negotiate. And I wasn't negotiating anymore. Then my dad called. This time, he wasn't yelling. Just quiet. Too quiet. "Son, we need to talk." We met at a small coffee shop near the edge of town. Old wooden tables, dim yellow lights, a place where secrets stuck to the walls. He sat down across from me, eyes tired, hands trembling around the chipped cup. For a long moment he didn't speak, just stared at the steam rising between us like he hoped it would form the words for him. Finally, in a low voice, he said, "There's something we didn't tell you." My stomach dropped, because when parents say that, it's never good. He exhaled slowly, as if releasing years of pressure. "Your uncle, your mother's brother. He borrowed money from us." I frowned. "Okay. What does that have to do with me?" Dad rubbed his forehead. "He didn't pay it back. And now, he's threatening us." Threatening. That word lands differently when it comes out of your parents' mouth. "How much?" I asked. He hesitated, then said it. $40,000. The exact amount they tried to force out of my savings. I leaned back, everything suddenly clicking into place like puzzle pieces that had been scattered for months. "So you wanted my money to pay off his debt?" Dad didn't answer. He didn't need to. His silence was the confession. All their drama, all the manipulation, the pressure, the sudden accusations of me being selfish, the pushing to support the family. It wasn't about unity. It wasn't about me. It was about bailing out a man who had already screwed them over, and would do it again without blinking. I felt heat rise in my chest. "Why didn't you tell me the truth?" I asked quietly. Dad's voice cracked. "Because we knew you'd say no." Exactly. Because I wasn't the obedient child. Because I didn't live for appearances. Because I didn't throw money at problems they created. Dad looked at me then, eyes pleading. "He's dangerous." We didn't know what else to do, we thought. Maybe if you helped know. I cut him off, not harshly, not loudly, just final. "I'm not paying for his mistakes. Or yours. Not anymore." The words hung between us, solid enough to touch. Dad swallowed hard. "Then we don't know what will happen." I nodded. "That's not my burden." And for the first time in my life, I saw it clearly. They didn't want a child. They wanted a safety net, someone to fix their disasters so they could keep pretending everything was fine. But I wasn't their safety net. Not then, not ever again. I stood up, left money for my coffee, and walked out into the cold night feeling lighter than air. My dad didn't follow. He knew the conversation was over. But the story, not even close. I didn't expect him to show up at my apartment, not at 11:23 p.m., not banging so hard the picture frames rattled on the walls. For a second, I froze. Then the voice came through the door, deep, slurred, angry. Opened the door. Now, my uncle. The same uncle my parents had been terrified of. The same man who had vanished after borrowing $40,000 like it was pocket change. I didn't move. I didn't even breathe. He banged again, harder. You think you're smart, huh? You think I don't know you're the reason they won't pay me. My heart kicked into overdrive. How did he then, I remembered. My parents. They must have told him everything. Not out of malice, out of fear. I stepped backward silently, grabbed my phone. I know where you work, he growled. I know your schedule. Open the damn door. My entire building was dead silent, everyone inside pretending they didn't hear. Like a horror movie where neighbors don't interfere. I whispered, low and steady, walk away. He laughed. A sick, mocking sound. You think I won't break this door down? I stepped closer, not to open it, but to let my voice carry. You break it, I said, and the police get this recording, and the messages, and every threat you've ever sent to my parents. So go ahead, give me evidence. Silence. Then a long, slow exhale. You're just like your father, he said. Useless. Footsteps. Then nothing. I waited 5 minutes before even touching the door. Waited 10 more before I dared to check the peephole. Gone. But the fear stayed in the hallway like fog. That picture changed everything. My uncle standing outside my workplace, smiling. The caption, TikTok. In that moment, a switch flipped inside me. I wasn't reacting anymore. I was fighting back. Every call, every threat, every text. I backed it all up. The next morning, I walked into the office with zero sleep and determination I'd never felt before. My boss noticed immediately. You okay? He asked. No, I said. And I need help. I showed him the photo, the one taken outside our building. I showed him the messages. He didn't say a word for 10 seconds. Then we're calling security. Right now. Within an hour, my uncle's face was distributed to every guard on the property. Within 2, he was banned, officially, legally, permanently, and they assigned me a parking spot right at the front entrance with escort support. For the first time in this entire nightmare, I felt safe. At 3:08 p.m., my phone buzzed. My father. Not my mother, not my sister. My father. The man who usually stayed silent just to keep the peace. I picked up. His voice was shaking. Why did you do this? He asked. I actually laughed, a short, disbelieving laugh. Do what? Now, protect myself. You didn't have to involve your job, he said. You made your uncle angry. He's calling us nonstop. I closed my eyes. There it was again, their real priority. Not me, not my safety. Not the fact that their relative threatened me for money that wasn't his. No, their fear was that he was angry. I finally said the words I should have said years ago. That's not my problem anymore, he inhaled sharply. We raised you better than this. No, I cut him off. You raised me to tolerate disrespect. You raised me to shrink myself so other people don't get upset. And I'm done with that. Silence. Then he whispered, I don't even recognize you. Good, I said. You're finally seeing me. I hung up. And that was the moment the fear broke, completely. I went home, sat at my tiny kitchen table, opened my laptop and transferred every dollar of my savings, all $42,500 into an account they didn't know existed, under a bank they had never used, locked behind 2-factor authentication on a phone number they didn't have. Why? Because fear makes you vulnerable. But preparation makes you untouchable. And for the first time in my adult life, I felt untouchable. I screenshot the new balance, saved it. Then I did something that shocked even me. I booked a consultation with a lawyer. Not to sue, not yet. But to build protection for every angle of the storm I knew was coming. Because my family wasn't done. They had tried guilt. They had tried manipulation. They had tried threats. Now they were going to try desperation. I could feel it, but that time, I was ready. It was 8:42 p.m. I know. Dark outside, quiet inside. I had finally sat down with a cup of tea, finally breathing like a normal human after days of chaos. Then ding-dong, ding-dong. Not a normal knock, not a polite ring. The kind of doorbell someone hits when they think they have authority over you. I didn't move at first. I just listened. Then came the voices, not one, not two. 2, 3, my mother, my father, and my uncle. I froze. Not out of fear, but out of disbelief at how predictable they truly were. My phone buzzed a second later. A text from my sister, "They're coming to talk sense into you." Don't be dramatic. I almost laughed. Talk sense into me, no. They came to corner me, but they had no idea I wasn't the same person they used to walk over. Not anymore. I stood up, walked slowly to the door, took a deep breath, and opened it. My mother looked furious. My father looked exhausted. My uncle looked smug, like a man who thought he'd already won. Finally, my mother snapped. "We've been standing here 5 minutes." I leaned against the frame. "Maybe try texting next time," I said calmly. That threw her off. She wasn't expecting calm. She was expecting tears or fear or the obedient son they'd trained for years. My father stepped forward. "We need to talk. Inside." "No," I said. "We can talk right here." My uncle scoffed loudly. "You think you can embarrass the family like this and get away with it?" I raised an eyebrow. "Like what?" "Protecting my own money. Protecting myself from someone showing up at my job." His jaw tightened. My mother cut in sharply. "Your uncle came here to apologize. He didn't. He didn't even pretend to." He pointed straight at me. "You owe this family. You don't get to threaten legal action because you think you're smarter than everyone." I smiled, not a happy smile. A smile that said, "You have no idea how badly you just exposed yourself." I reached into my hoodie pocket and pulled out my phone. I hit one button. My screen lit up. Recording in progress. My father's face dropped instantly. My mother's jaw tensed. My uncle took a step back. "What the hell do you think you're doing?" he barked. "Protecting myself," I said. "Same thing I've been doing ever since you threatened me and showed up at my workplace." My father held up both hands, panicked. "Turn that off. We just want to talk privately." "No," I said. "We talk with accountability now." My mother gritted her teeth. "This is disrespect." "No," I replied. "This is boundaries." The air shifted. For the first time in my life, they realized they couldn't bully me anymore. My uncle stepped forward again. "Look, just give me back the money I cut him off. I don't owe you a cent. And if you bring up my savings again, I'll add another report to the case file." His eyes widened. "Case file?" I smiled again. "Yes," I said. "I talked to a lawyer." My mother's hand flew to her mouth. My father whispered, What did you tell them?" "Everything," I said plainly. "The threats, the messages, the picture outside my job, and the way you all tried to pressure me into handing over my savings." My uncle's face turned bright red. "You wouldn't dare, I already did." Silence. Pure, heavy, terrified silence. My mother stepped closer, voice trembling with anger. "You're tearing this family apart." I shook my head slowly. "No. This family fell apart the minute you decided my safety and my financial security were less important than keeping." She opened her mouth to argue, then closed it. My dad looked down at the ground. He knew. He finally knew. My uncle tried one more time, voice dripping with fake calm. "How much do you want to drop all this? Just name a number." I stared at him, then said, "You think this is about money?" I stepped forward. "It's about respect, and you will treat me like someone who isn't yours to control." He clenched his fists, but he didn't step closer. He couldn't. The power shifted, completely. I took a small step back and placed my hand on the door. "This conversation is over." My mom gasped. "You're kicking us out." "No," I said calmly. "I'm ending the confrontation you created." My dad whispered, "Please don't do this." "I'm not doing anything," I said. "I'm protecting my peace and my money and my life." And then I closed the door. Not a slam. Not dramatic. Just a clean, controlled end. Behind the door, I heard my uncle curse. I heard my mother choke up. I heard my father mutter something to calm them. But I didn't open the door again. Not this time. Not ever the same way. Because they finally understood something. They couldn't break into my boundaries anymore, and they would never touch my $42,500 again. The moment that door clicked shut, I felt something strange. Silence. But not the usual heavy silence filled with guilt or fear or tension. This was different. This was the first breath of a life that finally belonged to me and not to a family who treated me as their emotional and financial backup plan. My family didn't just try to take $42,500 from me. They tried to take my trust, my peace, my future. Today, my savings are safe. My boundaries are finally real, and my life, honestly, it's better than anything I ever imagined back when I thought family always knows best. Turns out, family does not always know best. Sometimes the smartest move you'll ever make is saying no. Not this time. So if you're watching this and you've dealt with manipulation, guilt, trips, family pressure, here's your reminder: protect your peace the same way you protect your money. Because once someone shows you they're willing to cross the line once, they'll cross it again, unless you stop them. This was the story of how I kept every dollar and finally found myself in the process. And honestly, that was worth more than the $42,500.